r/ask Reddit. What's the worst house guest experience you've had? My aunt came to visit for what was supposed to be a week or two and didn't leave for almost a year when I was a kid. She redecorated my room and even put up pictures of herself. Now the running joke in my family is to randomly leave pictures of yourself around the house when we visit people. Mayo, that's so funny. Reminds me of a guy I used to work with who used to take pictures of himself and his family to IKEA. Over a long while he put them in the frames in all the displays. Nearly pissed myself when I went one day and spotted a pic of him on a beach somewhere in a bedroom display. That is hysterical. It reminds me of instant ancestors. Many years ago, my mother and I ran across a bunch of old framed photos at a thrift store. My mother bought the whole box. We hung a few of them up in the house with the old photos still in them. We call them our instant ancestors. He cranked my dad's speakers up to the max and blew them. They were from the 70s, so impossible to replace or repair. Then he clogged our toilet, grabbed a bunch of grandma's quilts to sop up the water. He then tried to stop the water by violently shacking the tank, cracking the bowl and dislodging it from its base. In a panic he tried to bolt from the house. His wet feet slipped on the wood floor and he crashed into a wall, leaving a nice body-sized impression. That's how my brother's friends was barred from the house. How old was this guy? How do people like this even survive in the world? He was 13 at the time. My uncle and his wife came to stay for a while. They got my room and I slept on the couch for a few months. No big deal when you're a kid, I guess. What actually ticked me off is that when they finally left we found out that they'd seriously messed up my room. Everything reeked of cigarettes. There were ground up peanut shells in the carpet, cigarette burns on my mattress, etc. And we couldn't figure out why the room smelled like death until we lifted up the bed and found mummified cat shit stuck up in the shag carpeting. They either had such bad hygiene that they didn't notice the smell or they knew and they just didn't care. Edit. To everyone asking how we didn't notice the cigarette smell, my guess is that they only smoked in the room during the day when everyone was out. Probably smoked out the window. My parents weren't smokers. We just figured the smell was coming from their bodies, which we couldn't do anything about. Plot twist. They were on meth. No way this happens unless hard drugs are involved. Mayo. Housemate had people come over, order a pizza, decide they didn't want it and refuse to answer the door so they didn't have to pay. At 4 AM, pizza guy could hear them through the door, so kept knocking louder and louder. I eventually went to the door and opened it, then explained to the pizza guy what was going on, so that they didn't blacklist the property, and forced them to pay. As they were packing to leave the next day, I noticed them trying to take some of my extra PS4 controllers by sneaking them into their bag. I'm normally an introvert, but already being cranky from no sleep, I lost my shit at that point. Called them a disgusting thief and told them to gtfo. Controllers are expensive, duck those hoes. You'll duck those hoes even if they weren't expensive though. Come in my house and steal shit for. That would be the girl visiting my sister-in-law who decided it would be funny to repeatedly prank call 911. I got a very angry call from the local police station saying we either stopped or they'd be sending a squad car over. Apologized profusely to the officer and thanked him for calling us first. She was not invited back to her house. She was 17 and definitely old enough to know better. Isn't abuse of 911 an actual crime? In Florida, the first false alarm call is not, but usually the second time is an explanation saying that they will get charged if this continues. Unless it was explained the first time, anything after you will probably get charged. My ex-wife's friend had her car break down, and our apartment was right on a bus route to her job. She was supposed to stay over for a week while she got her car fixed. After 2 months and a lot of warning, we packed her bags for her and put them by the door. How long did she crash on the porch? About 3 seconds. Then the car went through the porch into the kitchen. My dad owned a business his whole life and was in the process of hiring new installers. One applicant came in from out of town and my dad, being the kind man he was, offered for him to stay in our home. When the morning came, the man went to take a shower. My parents heard the water turn on and it stayed on for a really long time. After an hour and a half of running water, my mom made my dad go check on him. My dad went upstairs, picked the lock on the bathroom door, and found blood and a limp body on the floor next to the running shower. The man had overdosed, lost consciousness, hit his head on the shower side, and died. He was dead, right there on the bathroom floor that I used for 10 years. One thing is for sure, he won't be coming back to our house again. This one caught me off guard, lol. Yep, everything else in the thread was people being a-holes, and suddenly we get a death. Wife's cousin stayed a couple days with us. After he left, I discovered he purchased about $60 worth of porn on Directv. Who are these monsters who pay for porn, especially on TV, let alone someone's other than theirs, just jerking it in the living room in the afternoon while everyone pretends the world isn't burning down around them? He crashed on our couch and this was overnight. Instead of asking where the toilet paper is, they let their kid wipe his ass with our guest towels. Was there extra toilet paper in the bathroom? Or were they too lazy to look? They were overnight guests. There were definitely more rolls. They just didn't look around. Oh. My old roommate told me she had a friend who had fallen on rough times and needed a spot to crash for a while. No worries, I told her. Oh, big worries. He was a professional beatboxer, but more than that he was a professional smoker. Like, I'm fine with weed generally, but this dude was on 12-15 blunts a day, and would roll one as soon as he rolled his tighty whitey clad ass off of our couch. So for like 4 months, as soon as I woke up, it was nothing but clouds of white owl and brrrrmmchkchk fracafracachkabrim. He didn't fall on rough times. He was a rough time. brrrrmmchkchk fracafracachkabrim. I've never seen beatboxing spelled out before and I never want to again. This is the pinnacle. My friend asked if her brother, who I'd never met, could crash on my couch for the night. Her boyfriend wouldn't let him stay with them. My roommate and I agreed, just for the night. Then the next night, he got in a fight with the person he was supposed to stay with, and had to crash on my couch again. Stuff like that kept happening. Then he just stopped trying to find somewhere else to stay and started taking our spare key, staying out till I went to bed, and then coming in and crashing on the couch. His phone was off so I could never reach him when he was out unless he was connected to Wi-Fi. He got a job at a tattoo parlor and would brag about how much money he made, but never contributed or saved the money to move out. He blew it all on weed. I seriously don't know how someone could spend that much on weed. He was there for almost 2 months before he lied and snuck in a girl he'd met in rehab who had felony arrest warrants out for her. I'd said I didn't want her in the apt, and I caught them sneaking out the next morning 5 minutes before my alarm was to go off. I got upset with him and said it was not okay to lie to me and hide things from me. He freaked out and made up a bunch of stuff that he told my roommate and my friend. His sister said I called him a useless junkie, etc. I've had a lot of friends struggle with addiction. I'd never ever say something like that. After having my roommate scream at me over the lies the guy told I was done, he wasn't allowed back. It was a good thing I made him leave. Turns out he was slipping back into old habits. The next person who let him stay with them got robbed. He's been in and out of jail. My friend asked if I could help put money on his commissary thing. I hope the guy eventually gets cleaned up, but it's not my mess. Couple came for a weekend to my small apartment. Surprised that they brought 3 dogs and an extra friend. The puppy took a dump on my floor in the night, which nobody got up to clean. Another dog had a crate but managed to get a hold of a carpet outside of the crate, drag it in, and shred it. They also chewed up cardboard and wooden furniture. When they left, all the shredded stuff was just where it fell. Some people should not be pet owners. One of my best buddies from high school called me up and begged for me to come get him from a town about 3 hours away. The idea was he would stay with us for a couple weeks while he looked for work and then get his own place. 6 months later I ended up renting him a room for 1 month and dropping him off with his junk and wishing him well. His father had warned me he would drain me dry and he wasn't kidding. All those months he was supposedly using my vehicle to look for work, he was instead going out to a local bar. Every bottle in our liquor cabinet was drained down to the last finger. Yeah, cause if you leave that last little dribble in the bottle you haven't officially taken the piss. She stole all of my booze, pissed on my couch, tore up the flower bed to the side of my driveway, and destroyed my guest bathroom. This all happened after I'd fallen asleep. She was a guest of a tenant roommate, and that roommate was told either her friend wasn't allowed over ever again or she'd have to find a new place to live. Literally thought this was going to be about a dog. You're pissed on my couch got me. Ran into a guy I used to call a friend and let him stay with me for a while as he was down on his luck. I guess we'd ran out of toilet paper, so he used a washcloth and left it at the side of the toilet. Kicked him out and found out later he walked away with some of my CDs. Some mutual friends let him stay. Against my advice, they came home one day to find him passed out on the couch with his pants around his ankles. After they kicked him out, they found out he'd racked up $900 in phone sex charges. Duck you Noel. You always were and always will be a piece of shit. They came home one day to find him passed out on the couch with his pants around his ankles. After they kicked him out, they found out he'd racked up $900 in phone sex charges. Damn. Dude was jerking off to a phone sex line. What year was this? Well, he stole CDs, so I'm guessing 1996. My mom's cousin and her husband went for a short visit to our house. She was 5 months pregnant then. She and her husband didn't leave until the baby was 2 months old. Then when leaving, it's a pity we could only pay you a short visit. We'd have loved to stay a bit more, but Jen is starting college tomorrow. And to be honest, we're leaving because this house is a shithole. There's dog shit in the fridge. We burned your mattress because it was cold. Oh yeah, and we filled your washing machine with bricks to use as a drum machine. We had a house sitter once who wanted to bring their own dog for the week. They assured us the dog was well behaved and house trained. This was a pretty close friend, and their house is nice and clean, so we believed them. Came home to find every rug in our house destroyed. The house smelled funky when we walked in, and I immediately found wet spots on our living room rug. Lifted it up and it had more stained areas than not. Same with the kitchen, hallway, bedroom, and guest room rugs. I'm guessing this dog didn't pee outside a single time it was there. This was someone we paid to watch our house. Edit. To answer some common questions. Their house was all hardwood and had a dog door. I guess the dog just let itself out. Or maybe it does pee inside and they clean it up. Maybe the dog was freaked out in a new place. I honestly have no idea. I didn't confront them. We had a lot going on at that point in our lives, and just felt it was best to silently sever the relationship and learn an expensive lesson. We were planning a cross-state move and a wedding. All our small rugs went through the wash. The living room rug went right into the dumpster, it was so bad. We tried to clean the bit off his rug, but it ended up trashed too. We replaced the living room rug fairly cheaply. They tried to blame it on my dog and kind of acted like they hadn't noticed, which I do not for 1 second believe either part of. My dog has had 2 accidents since we got her 6 years ago. Once the first day, and once when she was recovering from anesthesia. She has a bladder of steel and weighs 15 pounds. This other dog was a solidly 75-pound lab mix. Based on the sizes of the stains, it was not the 15-pounder. Weirdly, there was no evidence of poop in the house, so I really don't know what was going on. No, it does not appear that they made any attempt to clean up the mess. The rug downstairs was literally dripping wet. We paid via Venmo before we got home. Yes, I'm a spineless wimp. No major justice boner to be found here. They assured us the dog was well behaved and house trained, which they apparently thought meant trained to pee in the house. I once dog sat for a friend, and that is exactly how I described that dog. We knew this dog was terrible at asking to go out and regularly pee on their carpet, so we had a schedule. We let her out with our dog every 4 hours except at night when both dogs slept downstairs, which was all hard floors. For 8 hours, we used a toddler gate thing to block off access to the stairs and took up the rugs so there was only couches and dog beds down there. This worked for 3 straight days with no accidents until the last morning I woke up to find that this dog had broken down the gate and took the largest shit and piss I'd ever seen. I swear to God she had been saving it up. She was a little smaller than my dog and I'd never seen him lay a pile of logs like that. It's like she had been inadvertently trained to go on the carpet, so by taking her outside we were going against what she'd been trained to do. She just wanted to give us one final parting gift. God, I was so pissed. Edit to add, these were large dogs. Mine was 90 pounds and the friend's dog was around 75 pounds. It was a lot of poop. My parents came over and started snooping through my closet while I was making tea. They found some sex toys and proceeded to get mad at me for having them in my own house, in my own bedroom. They wouldn't have found them if they would have behaved like normal people. Duck, not to mention it is your ducking house. If you want to leave dildos on your coffee table in the living room, that is your prerogative. Right? I might actually do that next time they come over. My dad's friend pissed in the corner of the guest room and asked for money from everyone who happened to walk by him. In that order? No. Simultaneously and with direct eye contact the entire time. I was on my honeymoon with my husband and we let his dad stay at our house, but said he had to be out by the time we got back. We let him know when we were on our way home and expected him to be gone. We get back. He was gone but had not gotten his stuff out of the house. On top of that, he trashed the place like a group of teenagers. Empty pizza boxes and trash laying around. He came back and stayed around for a bit and asked me if I was mad at him. Like, of course I'm mad. What do you expect? Bye. Are you mad at me? I assume you mean to apologize for your behavior. So how about we try that again? My brother-in-law stayed at our house while we were on our honeymoon. He had a girl over that he just met and they had sex in our bed and didn't change the sheets. They drank all of the alcohol in the house, including a special bottle of champagne that had been a wedding gift. I'm sorry about your Phil. What are some people thinking? I had surgery and was on bed rest for a week. I asked my cousin, who was living with me at the time, to keep an eye on me, as I was on heavy painkillers. I stayed on the couch and let her use my bedroom. When I recovered, I found used hair weave piled up on clean towels in the bathroom cabinet, a douche nozzle behind my nightstand, trash piled all the way up the wall in the kitchen, dirty dishes everywhere, a plate of rancid food in the microwave, ketchup and mustard smeared on the floors, and she had stolen a bunch of clothing and CDs, along with one of my iPhone chargers. She had a Windows phone, and she poked a hole in my $2,500 sleep number bed. I kicked her ass out immediately. Edit. Why I gave her the bed and took the couch. The couch was like 2 steps from the bathroom. And by giving her the bedroom I thought I was ensuring that she would have no reason not to do this one simple task because she would have to pass by the couch to go to the kitchen or the bathroom. Edit. Explain douche nozzle. A douche is a feminine hygiene product that many women use to control vaginal odor. The bag contains the product, and the nozzle is inserted into the vagina. When you squeeze the bag, the product is pushed out of the nozzle and it rinses the vagina. Edit. I have seen a handful of comments saying that you're supposed to douche your butt. Are you using actual douches or warm water enemas? Because douches typically contain vinegar and that's unsafe for rectal use. I don't understand how a family member of someone thinks what they're doing is fine. Have you had any contact with them since? Nope. I ran into her in line at the grocery store last year. She spoke to me and I went to stand in another line. When our son was born, my mother-in-law came and stayed on our couch for 2 weeks to help. In the 2 weeks she was there, she did nothing to help. Dishes, laundry, feedings, nothing. And our poor son had real trouble feeding those first few months. We couldn't get him to eat well, and it didn't help that my mill was there the whole time, staring at us while the baby didn't eat. After 2 weeks, my father-in-law was going to join us, so my mill baked a pie for him. That's why I always said that if we had another one, I'd be on the doorstep with a shotgun until the baby was 6 months old. Edit. As this has blown up some, I'll add a few things. When my mill saw my wife for the first time after the baby, she said, "Whoa, it looks like there's another baby in there." Also, my Phil wasn't there to meet his first grandchild because he had a prior commitment. It was a Vietnam veterans reunion. I wasn't bothered that he wanted to go to that, because I know how important that group is to vets. But this is your only daughter and your first grandchild and you can't skip it 1 year? But then again, if he'd been as helpful as his wife was, it was better that he was away. OMG. My mum is like that when my youngest was born. My mum came over a couple of weeks after to help us out. I live abroad, originally from the UK, and my parents still live there now. My mum has always been lazy. She's the type of sit on the sofa, play on her tablet and go outside for a cigarette now and then. and she didn't disappoint. I managed to barter her down from 4 weeks to 3, as usually 2 days is my limit, and for those 3 weeks, she didn't do any feeds, change a nappy or take him whilst I slept. I had mastitis and another pain in my ass, which was my then 4-year-old son. I was ducked. It would have been easier to do it on my own. As the boys have gotten older, nothing's changed. Her idea of interaction with her many grandchildren is poking them with a stick now and then to make sure they're still responsive. My mum did, in all fairness, teach my eldest how to play Candy Crush. Oh hey, this happened to me too. Postpartum a couple days and baby in the NICU, and I was cooking dinner for my mill. ETA, my mill is otherwise great, just kind of useless in this regard and not very proactive. She didn't demand, but she also didn't help much at all. It was a bad time. I felt like I never got to recover from a very traumatic birth, and then I got hit with PPD, and by the way I have other kids who need attention and food and stuff. It was really hard to advocate for what I needed because I was exhausted and both children and adults needed things right now. Never even got to spend any time in this apartment. I agreed to rent an apartment with my younger sister on her road to recovery from drug use, and we'd all thought she was doing well. I paid for the first month's rent and deposit, which is standard. She moved in a week early because I was working night shift, and the whole process started on a Monday. That weekend I got to move in. I found out my debit card was locked out because she stole it and attempted to withdraw money too many times. It didn't get any better after that. Sadly, was not expecting that reaction. For all her curious, yeah, shit got worse, and I've further distanced myself from that sibling, especially seeing her OD and nearly die and treat us like shit for calling medics. And no, I'm not going to give a lot of little detail here because she is still my little sister. So even inventing her and never wanting to deal with her bullshit again, I'm not going to do that. Oh, this is a pretty good one. So I had a really old good friend call me and tell me they needed a place to stay for maybe a few days or a week when I lived in the Pacific Northwest. I of course said yes. Then she told me her girlfriend was coming too. Okay, great. They show up, and when they get to my porch she tells me her girlfriend has strep throat. At first I think okay, whatever, but then I stop and think, isn't that highly contagious? But they are already here. So I just kind of start thinking to myself that I'll have to somehow keep them to my spare bedroom and sterilize the crap out of everything. But then I'm just wondering why my friend didn't tell me in advance, or if they don't know how contagious it is. Like if my girlfriend had strep, it'd go get a hotel and not subject my friend to that. After about a day, my friend tells me via text she has to leave, which at first I'm relieved, but then she asks if her girlfriend can just stay at my place. I don't know her. I've never met her in my life. I tell her I have another couple that need to come stay with me, which was true, and that I'm not comfortable housing someone I don't know who is sick. She says that is fine, but then when she comes to get her stuff she acts all pissed and says, well, see you sometime, maybe, and I don't hear from her for a long time after. Kinda ducked up she put me in that situation, tbh. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.